This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning, everyone. Today, the topic of discussion is neuromuscular junction and its disorders, right? So, previous class we have discussed about CSVT. What are the other names of other names for CSVT? What is CSVT? What is CSVT? What are the other names for CSVT? Okay. What is the most common? The CSVT occurs in males or females? Which sinus is most commonly affected in CSVT? What is the most common cause of CSVT in males? What is the most common cause of CSVT in females? What is the investigation of choice for CSVT? What is the treatment for CSVT? Anyone? At least answer a question out of these 8 to 10 questions. Okay. So today the topic of discussion is neuromuscular junction disorders. So first year physiology, basic physiology. So here, so this is the presynaptic terminal. So this is the voltage. Everyone able to see this? Please speak. Someone please speak. Everyone able to see this or not?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is voltage gated calcium channels, right? So opening of the voltage gated calcium channels and release of acetylcholine from this vesicles, right? So this is the acetylcholine. This is the vesicle. Okay, this is the voltage gated calcium channels. Opening of the voltage gated calcium channels. First step, and second step is release of acetylcholine from the acetylcholine vesicles. So this is the synaptic cleft, and these are the neurotransmitters, right? Acetylcholine receptors will be there, right? Acetylcholine receptors, and this will be the post synapse. Okay, post after the synaptic cleft, this is the post synapse. For time being, remember this voltage gated calcium channels, this acetylcholine vesicles, right? Release of acetylcholine. Okay, acetylcholine, synaptic cleft, this is the post synapse. So this is the muscle. This is the basic questions will be asked from this topic. Actually, we won't discuss whole physiology of neuromuscular junction now. We will discuss the disorders. This is the basic part that should be discussed in the first year physiology, and you have discussed that this neuromuscular junction physiology in first year. Now we are discussing a brief description about NM junction, and we will go to the disorders like myasthenia gravis, Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and congenital myasthenia gravis syndromes, right? So myasthenia gravis is a very long question for your final year MBBS examination, as well as Lambert-Eaton syndrome is also a short note or can be given as a long note for your final year MBBS examination. Apart from this, apart from giving of long note or short note for 2 marks, mostly many questions will be asked in your entrance examination, right? And this is the one. This is the muscle. Actually, only for few things I have given this image. See, when there is contraction, see, this is the thick filament, this is the thin filament. Thick filament is the myosin, right? Thick filament is the myosin, thin filament is the actin. So while during the contraction, so this is the A band, right? This A band remains the same. This A band remains the same, and this high band and H band, I band and H band will be decreased. So please, for timing, remember A band remains the same, I band decreases during contraction. Okay. So voltage gated, you remember this voltage gated calcium channel. So this is the synaptic cleft, this is the presynaptic, this is the postsynaptic, and these are the acetylcholine receptors, right? These are the acetylcholine receptors. Okay. Nothing more important at this point of time more than this, right? This is the voltage gated calcium channel, this is the acetylcholine vesicles, release of acetylcholine after reaching the threshold, and this is the acetylcholine receptors. And here on the postsynaptic terminal, you will be having a sodium channel, right? Voltage gated sodium channel you will be having. You will be having voltage gated sodium channel in the presynapse. Okay. Please remember, in the presynapse you will have choline acetyl transferase you will be having. In the synaptic cleft you will be having esterase, right? Choline esterase. You will be having choline esterase in case of synaptic cleft. Okay. I think no one understood. ఎవరికి అర్థం కాలేదు అనుకుంటా కదా. Okay. So now coming to the myasthenia gravis. See, in the presynaptic terminal, choline plus acetic acid, right? Choline plus acetic acid gives acetylcholine, right? And that acetylcholine comes out from the acetylcholine vesicles to the synaptic cleft, right? In the synaptic cleft, it gets hydrolyzed by acetylcholine esterase. Okay. So this is the thing I want to say, that presynaptic terminal, opening of voltage gated calcium channels, release of acetylcholine from the acetylcholine vesicles, coming to the synaptic cleft in the presence of choline esterase. Okay. For acetylcholine esterase, it gets degraded, hydrolyzed, and coming to the postsynaptic membrane, voltage gated sodium channels, again that comes to the synaptic cleft, forming of choline acetic acid, and the acetic acid goes out, and this choline comes into the presynaptic terminal, and again acetylcholine is synthesized. Okay. So that is the basic funda. Presynaptic terminal, acetylcholine, synaptic cleft, postsynaptic membrane. Remember this. So now we will discuss about the myasthenia gravis. We are going to discuss about the myasthenia gravis. In nothing but myasthenia gravis is a rare autoimmune disease, right? It's a rare autoimmune disease, the most common disorder of the neuromuscular junction, resulting from binding of auto antibodies to the components of neuromuscular junction, most commonly the acetylcholine receptors. See, this is the postsynapse, this is the presynapse. Remember, auto antibodies to this neurotransmitters, right? Auto antibodies to these neurotransmitters, acetylcholine receptors is the most common. Antibodies forming to the acetylcholine receptors is the most common in myasthenia gravis. If there are any antibodies to the voltage gated sodium channels, then also this whole process will be inhibited, right? Release of acetylcholine from the acetylcholine vesicles. Okay, this whole process will be inhibited. Then also there will be no acetylcholine synthesized. So antibody, remember, antibodies to the voltage gated calcium channels is Lambert syndrome, right? Antibodies to voltage gated calcium channel is Lambert-Eaton syndrome. Antibodies to neurotransmitter receptor, that is acetylcholine receptor, that is myasthenia gravis. Okay. Myasthenia gravis is postsynaptic defect. Myasthenia gravis is postsynaptic defect. Remember, myasthenia gravis is the postsynaptic defect. Okay, this is the presynapse, this is the synapse right here forming synaptic cleft. Okay, so this is the calcium channel, voltage gated calcium channel. So that means antibodies to voltage gated calcium channel, that is presynaptic defect, is Lambert-Eaton syndrome. Okay, do you able to understand? Someone please speak.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So what do you call okay, antibodies to voltage gated calcium channels, what is the disorder?
Lambert-Eaton syndrome.
Lambert-Eaton.
Lambert-Eaton syndrome. Okay, antibodies to acetylcholine receptors?
Myasthenia gravis.
Myasthenia.
Myasthenia gravis. Okay, myasthenia gravis. What happens to the muscle contraction? What happens to A band, H band, I band in case of muscle contraction? What happens to A band? Decreases, remains the same, or increases?
Remains same.
Very good.
Remains
A band remains same. I band
decreases.
decreases. Okay. A band remains the same. I band. See here I band, here I band decreases during muscle contraction. See, for time being, remember, for your level, you please remember for myasthenia gravis, the most common receptor antibodies are acetylcholine receptor antibodies, right? But there are also antibodies for repsin antibodies, DOX7 antibodies, LRP4 antibodies, right? Please remember the names of the antibodies at least, right? Acetylcholine receptor antibodies is the most common. Second is that you will have anti-titin antibodies, right? Titin antibodies, and LRP4. What do you mean by LRP4? Full form of LRP4? Low density lipoprotein antibodies, right? LRP4 is low density lipoprotein antibodies, as well as DOX7 antibodies, right? DOX7 and repsin, RAPSYN, repsin mutation, right? So any antibodies to acetylcholine, see all the receptors what I have told are postsynaptic. Remember, all the receptors now I'm speaking are postsynaptic. Acetylcholine receptors, DOX7, repsin mutation, repsin, LRP4, right? These are all are postsynaptic. So these defect or any antibodies to these receptors will result in myasthenia gravis, right? Antibodies to these receptors result in myasthenia gravis. Antibodies to presynaptic, that is voltage gated calcium channel, that is Lambert-Eaton syndrome. How do you differentiate in the casualty, or how do you differentiate when the patient presenting with weakness, right? See, any muscle disorder. See, what are the basic funda, basic anatomy for a lower motor neuron? From where the lower motor neuron starts? Can anyone tell? See, up to from cortex to the anterior horn cell. Okay, up to spinal cord, that is upper motor neuron. We have discussed this, right? From spinal cord, anterior horn cell. Okay. From anterior horn cell, everything is lower motor neuron. So anterior horn cell, then dorsal root ganglion, ventral root ganglion, nerve, okay, then muscle, okay, nerve NM junction, neuromuscular junction, then muscle. So everything is lower motor neuron. The basic funda, see, anterior horn cell, okay, dorsal root ganglion, ventral root ganglion, formation of nerve neuron, then neuromuscular junction, then muscle. So everything is lower motor neuron, right? See, clinically, the patient presenting with proximal muscle weakness and distal muscle weakness. The patient presenting with the distal muscles in the lower limbs or distal muscles in the upper limbs, right? Distal muscles in the lower limbs or distal muscles in the upper limbs, that is mostly due to neuropathy, right? Neuropathy. If the patient presenting with proximal muscle weakness, mostly due to myopathy. Please remember the weakness is proximal muscle weakness is for myopathies, right? Muscle involvement is there. Now, don't think that every time if there is proximal muscle weakness, there will be that is myopathy. Don't diagnose that is as a myopathy. Mostly, okay. Distal muscle weakness, most common neuropathy. Can anyone tell what are the disorders? Huh? Excuse me. Okay. So what are the disorders? See, distal muscles are affected in neuropathy. Okay. Now I'm asking that what are the names of the diseases? Are the disorders in which myopathy is due to distal muscle weakness, right? Myopathy due to distal muscle weakness. I'm asking distal muscle myopathies. See, muscle weakness, proximal muscle, most common myopathy. Myopathy is due to proximal muscle weakness. Keep on saying this point. Myopathy is due to proximal muscle weakness most commonly. But there are distal weakness, distal myopathies are also there. Okay, I want to say that point simply. Can anyone, now I'm asking, can anyone tell what are the names of distal myopathies? Okay, what are the names of proximal myopathies? Proximal muscle weakness. See, myasthenia gravis, we are discussing about neuromuscular junction, right? neuromuscular junction. That means nerve terminal, presynaptic, synaptic cleft, postsynaptic, then muscle, right? So we are discussing the defect of neuromuscular junction, nerve, muscle, neuromuscular junction, the receptor antibodies to acetylcholine receptors here. Okay, so now keep going from the neuromuscular junction, there will be muscle. So muscle, proximal muscle involvement is proximal myopathies, distal muscle involvement is distal myopathies. Okay, do you able to get my point? Someone speak. So myasthenia gravis is a neuromuscular junction disorder resulting from antibodies to the components of neuromuscular junction, most commonly the acetylcholine receptors, right? Yeah, this is the acetylcholine. Okay, right? This is the acetylcholine receptors. So this is a normal muscle contraction. Okay, if you see here the receptors, the acetylcholine. So this acetylcholine receptor is blocked by the antibody. So what happens? This acetylcholine will not be coming to this post synapse. So there will be reduced transmission, and the patient will be presenting with weakness. So simple, impaired muscle contraction in case of myasthenia gravis. So this is the post synaptic disorder, right? Name on any famous actor suffering with myasthenia gravis? Can anyone tell who is the famous actor suffering with
Amitabh Bachchan.
Yes.
myasthenia? Okay.
Amitabh Bachchan, sir. Amitabh Bachchan.
Okay. See, myasthenia gravis, most common. Okay, myasthenia gravis is having bimodal age distribution. These are neat MCQs, right? What is zonal myasthenia gravis and bimodal? Most common woman or most common is female, less than 50 years of age, right? It's not 40 years of age actually. It is 50 years of age, less than 50 years of age. Most common is female. Most common is male if the age is greater than 50 years of age, right? You remember the ratio of 7:3, 3:1. Zonal myasthenia gravis is less than 18 years of age and constitutes about 10% of all the cases of myasthenia gravis, right? These are all the facts, right? Zonal myasthenia gravis less than 18 years. So what is zonal myasthenia gravis? They will be asking in the option years, right? 12 years, 14 years, 16 years, 18 years. Please remember 18 years, right? Zonal myasthenia gravis is less than 18 years. It constitutes about how many cases of myasthenia gravis? 10% of all the cases of myasthenia gravis, right? Bimodal age distribution. So generalized myasthenia gravis is about 80%, ocular myasthenia gravis is 20%, myasthenic crisis is about 15%. So most common type of myasthenia gravis is generalized myasthenia gravis, right? That means there is muscle weakness as well as ptosis, right? Ocular myasthenia gravis mostly will be seeing only ptosis, right? There will be no weakness. Myasthenia crisis 15%, patient is on treatment, right? Patient will be landing with myasthenia gravis is about 15% only, right? So what are the antibodies seen in generalized myasthenia gravis? We will discuss now. Most common antibody. What is the most common antibody? Acetylcholine receptor antibodies, right? AChR receptor antibodies, right? So these are the clinical subtypes of myasthenia gravis, right? Early onset generalized myasthenia gravis, that is age less than 50 years of age. The most common antibody is acetylcholine receptor antibodies, right? And you'll be having, there is association with thymic histology, the thymus, that is thymus hyperplasia will be there. See, thymomas occur about 10 to 20% of the cases, 10 to 30% of the cases of myasthenia gravis, right? Okay, thymoma occurs in about 10 to 30% of the cases in myasthenia gravis, right? Please remember this statement. Very important statement. Please make a note of the statement, right? Thymoma occurs in about 10 to 30% of the cases of myasthenia gravis. Okay, myasthenia gravis occurs about 30 to 50% of the cases of thymoma. This is the association you should remember. Thymoma is in association with 10 to 20% of the myasthenia gravis. Myasthenia gravis 30 to 50% in association with thymomas. Okay, right? That means previously present myasthenia gravis 10 to 30%. Previously present thymoma 30 to 50% myasthenia gravis, right? So early onset generalized myasthenia gravis age less than 50 years of age, right? Late onset age greater than 50 years, and the antibodies may be due to acetylcholine receptor antibodies titin. Why I'm keep on saying about titin antibodies also, because they will not be giving this acetylcholine receptor antibodies in the question, right? They will be giving this titin antibodies, and they will be giving the voltage gated calcium channels, voltage gated sodium channels they will be giving, and you will search for acetylcholine receptor antibodies for late onset generalized myasthenia gravis acetylcholine receptor antibodies. There will be no option of acetylcholine receptor antibodies in your question, so you should go for titin antibodies, right? Ocular myasthenia gravis. See, ocular myasthenia gravis, actually this is a controversy that acetylcholine receptor antibodies are seen as well as MuSK antibodies are seen. Please remember MuSK antibodies also. Okay, most common is acetylcholine receptor antibody for ocular myasthenia gravis also. For MuSK antibody positive, that is MuSK antibodies. There is some MuSK antibodies are also there, right? MuSK antibody positive myasthenia gravis will be there, right? So LRP4 antibodies and double seronegative. Double seronegative means what? Can anyone say what is double seronegative? Can anyone say what is double seronegative? What do you mean by double seronegative? What do you mean by seronegative? What do you mean by seronegative? Please speak. What do you mean by seronegative? So LRP4 antibodies, MuSK antibodies. Double seronegative means there is no antibodies. Seronegative means there no acetylcholine receptor antibodies as well as no MuSK antibodies, right? No MuSK antibodies. Okay. Double seronegative. So this is the most common antibody seen in myasthenia gravis. Acetylcholine receptor antibodies, titin antibodies, MuSK antibodies. Okay, right. Okay, ryanodine receptors. What is the defect? Can anyone say the disease or disorder associated with ryanodine receptors? Patient presenting with hyperkalemia, hyperpyraxia, rigidity. What is the disorder? See, what is the disorder of for that, which is dantrolene sodium is the treatment for that. What is the disorder? Patient ryanodine receptors. What is malignant hyperthermia? ఉన్నారా వెళ్ళిపోయారు క్లాస్ నుంచి 136 members present. Very good. Please speak. So these are the clinical features of myasthenia gravis, right? Patient may be presenting with breathing difficulties, right? Ptosis, high muscle weakness, fatigue, facial paralysis you can see in case of myasthenia gravis, right? Voice change, drooping position of the head, difficulty in talking, difficulty to climb stairs and lift objects. See, remember this, difficulty to climb stairs and lift objects What do you mean by this? Difficulty to climb stairs and lift objects. So which muscle weakness is there? Proximal muscle or distal muscle? So what are the symptoms of proximal muscle weakness? What are the symptoms of proximal muscle weakness? What you'll ask in the history for proximal muscle weakness? What you'll ask in the history for distal muscle weakness? Proximal muscle weakness in the upper limbs. What you'll ask? To say that patient is having proximal muscle weakness or distal muscle weakness. To say the patient having proximal muscle weakness in the lower limbs or distal muscle weakness in the lower limbs. What history you'll ask? What you'll ask? Combing hair.
Buttoning.
Huh? Please know the history of proximal muscle weakness and distal muscle weakness, right? In the both upper limbs and lower limbs, right? Difficulty in chewing and swallow, breathing difficulty. So the patient may be having ocular weakness, ptosis, bulbar symptoms may be having, right? So this is the main clinical features of myasthenia gravis. Remember, there will be neck flexor weakness than neck extensor. Neck flexor weakness is predominant than neck extensor in case of myasthenia gravis. In myopathies actually will be having neck extensor weakness, right? But in myasthenia gravis will be having neck flexor weakness predominant than neck extensor weakness, right? So ptosis will be having ptosis that shifts from one eye to the other, which is visually pathognomonic of myasthenia gravis and is usually asymmetric ptosis, right? Patient will be having asymmetric ptosis, right? What are the ocular signs? What are the ocular features? Ocular means eye, right? What are the ocular features in myasthenia gravis? Ptosis in myasthenia gravis, yes. Can anyone tell about ptosis in myasthenia gravis? At least few points. What happens? How the ptosis? How you will diagnose the ptosis? Okay, what happens if you give this one drug? What happens to the ptosis? And what is ocular QVR? What is pseudo internuclear ophthalmoplegia? What is cog and slit twitch sign? What is cog and slit twitch sign? See, this is down gaze, right? This is up gaze. Up gaze, you're seeing up. Down gaze, suddenly you're seeing down. So after down gaze, when you go for up gaze, overshoot of the lid will be seen in case of myasthenia gravis, right? Overshoot of the upper eyelid, right? Now you're seeing down gaze. Actually, the patient is having ptosis. This is the down gaze, right? Down gaze. Now you're seeing up gaze. So overshoot of the eyelid, patient is having ptosis, and that is cog and slit twitch sign, right? So ptosis involves, okay, ocular muscles are involved in case of myasthenia gravis without any overt pupillary abnormality, right? There is no without any overt pupillary abnormality, you will see the ptosis, right? Involvement of the ocular muscles you will see, and then shifting of the ptosis to one eye. Asymmetric ptosis, you will be seeing asymmetric ptosis in case of myasthenia gravis. Pseudo internuclear ophthalmoplegia is nothing but here you will having so if you are having this side ptosis, okay, right, and this is what, abduction or adduction? You are seeing this side, this finger here. For right eye, this is abduction or adduction? You able to see me? See, here you are seeing this finger here with my right eye. So right eye is doing abduction or adduction?
Abduction.
Abduction. Left eye? Left eye?
Adduction. Adduction.
Adduction. So if you see like this, now what happens to right eye? Right eye is abduction or adduction?
Adduction.
Adduction. So right eye is adduction. Right eye is adduction, right? Left eye is abduction. So you will be having some nystagmus in this abducting eye. Some nystagma jerks will be having in this abducting eye, right? In adduction, what happens is that in case of this myasthenia gravis, see this adduction, see for any muscle movement, it may be adduction, abduction, extorsion, intorsion, any other movement, velocity will be there, right? And range of movement will be there. In case of myasthenia gravis, adduction is working, right? This eye adduction is working, right? But what happens is that the range of movement is decreased. Velocity is normal, speed is normal, but range of movement, that means actually if you see my right eye, if you see my right eye, see now I am seeing this eye, so this is fully adducted, right? This right eye is fully adducted to see my left finger. But in case of myasthenia gravis, there is ocular QVR. Ocular QVR, QUIVR, ocular QVR. What means? Saccades are super fast. Saccades are super fast, but with limited adduction. So adduction is the range of movement is limited. You can't make our eye fully adducted, right? Fully adducted. Simple thing. This is the thing I want to say. So limited adduction with nystagma jerks in the abducting eye, right? So this is a cog and slit sign, right? Lid twitch sign. After a period of down gas, up gas produces the lid overshoot which passively lifting a ptotic lid. See, this is the ptosis. This is also ptosis. Both eyes are having ptosis. Myasthenia gravis. This is having more ptosis. This is having less ptosis, right? So passively lifting the ptotic eyelid may cause the opposite lid to fall. That means aggravating the opposite ptosis by lifting the eyelid of the one eye. So this is enhanced ptosis, remember. So now what are the difference between the acetylcholine receptor antibody positive myasthenia gravis, MuSK antibody positive myasthenia gravis? Okay. See, in acetylcholine receptor antibody positive myasthenia gravis, limb muscle weakness is more common than the bulbar weakness, right? So limb muscle, upper limb weakness, limb muscle, proximal muscle weakness. Remember, proximal muscle weakness is more common than the distal muscle weakness in case of myasthenia gravis in limb. Regarding limb, in acetylcholine receptor antibodies will be having limb muscle weakness greater than the bulbar muscle weakness, right? So neck flexors are more commonly affected than neck extensor in case of acetylcholine receptor antibodies. Ptosis will be there. Extraocular muscle involvement is more common here. Ptosis and extraocular weakness is less common in case of MuSK antibody myasthenia gravis, right? Bulbar muscle weakness is much more common in case of MuSK antibody weakness, right? Neck extensor weakness is much more common. Okay. Here, see proximal limb weakness, proximal muscle wasting will be seen. Facial tongue fasciculations is seen in case of MuSK antibodies. Thymomas or thymus hyperplasia, thymic hyperplasia is common in case of acetylcholine receptor antibodies. See, thymic hyperplasia or thymomas are most common in acetylcholine receptor antibodies, as well as juvenile onset, early onset juvenile myasthenia gravis, less than 18 years of age. Late onset, you can't see this thymus pathologies, right? Acetylcholine esterase response, that is good for hydrophonium, right? Intravenous immunoglobulin versus plasma paresis, both have same similar outcome, same outcome, right? But plasma paresis is better, gives good outcome in case of MuSK antibody myasthenia gravis, right? So rituximab, thymectomy for thymoma patients. MuSK antibodies will not see any thymoma patients, right? Thymoma is very rare in case of MuSK positive antibodies, right? So thymectomy is see, generalized myasthenia gravis, about how many patients will be having thymoma? We'll discuss. How many patients of what is the percentage of the patients of myasthenia gravis will be having thymoma? We'll discuss now. 10, 20, 30, 50, 10, 20, 30, 50, 10, 30, 30, 50. So thymectomy is affected in thymomas are most commonly seen in acetylcholine receptor antibodies. So thymectomy is preferred in case of acetylcholine receptor positive antibodies, right? Okay. Brief revision about these antibodies. What is the disorder affecting the voltage gated calcium channel? Please speak.
Lambert-Eaton
Lambert-Eaton
syndrome.
syndrome.
Okay, what are the antibodies toward the myasthenia gravis?
Acetylcholine receptor antibodies.
Acetylcholine receptor antibodies and
Antibodies. MuSK.
MuSK antibodies and titin antibodies, cyanidin receptor antibodies and DOX7 antibodies, repsin mutation antibodies, right? Repsin, DOX7, acetylcholine receptor antibodies, MuSK antibodies, titin antibodies. So what are the triggering or worsening symptoms for myasthenia gravis? Surgery, pregnancy, postpartum period, this may worsen myasthenia gravis. Heat, stress worsens everything. Any disorder can worsen by stress actually. So please don't take stress in anything, okay? Viral infections, bone marrow transplantation, medications. So what are the medications causing trigger myasthenia gravis? Medications: aminoglycosides, fluoroquinolines, Classification of fluoroquinolones. Can anyone please help me in classifying fluoroquinolone? Classification of fluoroquinolones. First generation, second generation. What are first generation fluoroquinolones? Roll number 58. Roll number 72. Simple question. Fluoroquinolones. Pharmacology. You have passed pharmacology also. Okay, name some aminoglycoside antibiotics. Aminoglycoside antibodies. Aminoglycoside antibiotics. Okay. So antibiotics which may trigger or worsen myasthenia gravis: aminoglycosides, fluoroquinolones, tetracyclines, sulfonamides, penicillins, nitrofurantoin, telithromycin, right? So magnesium compounds, botulinum toxin. Botulinum toxin. Botulinum toxin may worsen myasthenia gravis. Yes. Please remember. Botulinum toxin per se, see, myasthenia gravis is post-synapse, right? Post-synaptic disorder. Lambert-Eaton syndrome is presynaptic disorder. Botulinum toxin is presynaptic disorder or post-synaptic disorder? Commonly asked question in your entrance examination. Which proteins? Botulinum toxin affects one type of proteins, one group of proteins. What are the proteins? Botulinum toxin actually for synthesis of the acetylcholine through another one important protein complex is also required. What is the protein complex? Anyone can tell me the name? Starts with S, ends with E. Snare protein. What is the full form of snare? Full form of snare. Please Google and tell at least. Soluble and ethyl-malenomide attachment receptor proteins, right? Please remember that attachment word, attachment. In snare, that A stands for attachment. They will be giving attachment, assembly, antibody, autoreceptors. This is an important question actually. Snare, attachment. You remember A for that attachment, right? Interferon alpha, D-penicillamine, cardiovascular medications, quinidine, quinine. What is the side effect of quinidine? Side effect of quinidine. Side effect of quinidine. What is quinidine? Which group of drug this quinidine belongs? Quinidine belongs to which group of drug? Zero members are there, or okay, 132 members are there. Thank you. So quinidine. What is the side effect of quinidine? Right? Please tell me side effect of quinidine. At least please tell to which group of drug this quinidine belongs. Beta blockers, calcium channel blockers, anesthetic drugs, local anesthetic agents like procainamide, xylocaine, methoxyfluorine. These may aggravate myasthenia gravis. Neuromuscular blockers like succinylcholine, D-tubacurarine, vicuronium, pancuronium, etracuronium. Right? These also not only succinylcholine, D-tubacurarium, pancuronium, etracuronium, vicuronium also affect this myasthenia gravis. Checkpoint inhibitors like pembrolizumab. Right? What is the use of pembrolizumab? So presenting symptoms of myasthenia gravis: 50% ocular symptoms, bulbar is 15%. Isolated neck is uncommon. Respiratory disease, respiratory involvement you will see only in myasthenia crisis you will see. So if there is any ocular involvement, you should also consider what are the other disorders like brainstem, cranial lesions, including the Horner syndrome. In which stroke syndrome you'll see Horner syndrome? Horner syndrome. See, we have discussed stroke syndromes, right? So okay, Horner syndrome is involvement of which tract? Sympathetic tract, right? So sympathetic tract is involved in which syndrome? Which stroke syndrome? Sympathetic tract is involved in pons or medulla. At least please tell me this. Pons or medulla? Okay, you will not tell. I know that. I only tell the answer. Medulla. So lateral medullary syndrome, you will see Horner syndrome. You can see Horner syndrome. Thyroid ophthalmopathy, oculopharyngeal muscular dystrophy, chronic external ophthalmoplegias, right? Isolated neck, you should rule out motor neuron disease and inflammatory myopathies, right? Isolated respiratory diseases are very rare. You should also rule out motor neuron disease as well as acid maltase deficiency. What is this acid maltase deficiency? What is the disease? Acid maltase. See, if you won't say any answers or if you won't, okay, acid maltase deficiency. What is the disease? We have discussed this disease also. I told that this patient will be having a hypertrophic hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. Patient may die at the age of 2 years. Sudden cardiac death. Acid maltase deficiency. What is the disease? Pumpis disease. Okay, what are the differences between the myasthenia gravis and Lambert-Eaton syndrome? Males is to females. What is the ratio? Women is to men. 2:1 in case of myasthenia gravis, right? 2:3 in case of LEMS. Age greater than 50 years, males are most commonly affected. Age less than 50 years. Age less than 50 years. Who are affected? Males or females? Huh?
Females.
Females. Presenting signs, weakness of the ocular, bulbar muscles and facial muscles. Proximal leg muscles are involved in LEMS. Exertional weakness will be there. Okay. Oh, no need of yes. In LEMS, there will be autonomic features, right? Dry mouth. Autonomic symptoms will be seen in LEMS. And you please remember this small cell cancer, paraneoplastic syndrome of lung in 50% of the cases is associated with LEMS, right? Small cell cancer of the lung, paraneoplastic syndromes, right? Antibodies to acetylcholine receptor antibodies. This is voltage gated calcium channel antibodies, right? The drug of choice is anticholine esterases, right? Anticholine esterase. This is 3,4-diaminopyridine. What is the mechanism of action of 3,4-diaminopyridine? Blocks which channel? 3,4-diaminopyridine. See, those who are weak in pharmacology will be facing very difficulties while reading your final year medicine, right? So if you are weak in pharmacology, now itself please take your Tripathi book and please read classifications, right? You should know at least the group of the drug for which group it belongs, right? Otherwise you can't treat a patient in future, and also it's very difficult to grasp everything and to read everything in only few less time, right? So please read pharmacology. It's very simple. If you read classifications and if you know the group of drug to which it belongs, you can understand all the concepts. What happens if 3,4-diaminopyridine? Why this is treatment for Lambert-Eaton syndrome? See, voltage gated calcium channel blockers. So voltage gated calcium channel, for that antibodies are formed in LEMS to make the availability of the calcium channel more, to open the calcium channel for longer time. So you should block the potassium channel there. So potassium channel is blocked by, so this 3,4-diaminopyridine is a potassium channel blocker, right? So steroids, immunosuppressive, plasma paresis, intravenous gamma globulins are the treatment of choices for myasthenia gravis, right? Thymectomy is effective. Why? Because in myasthenia gravis we see thymoma patients, right? In LEMS is not associated with thymoma. LEMS is associated with small cell lung cancer, paraneoplastic syndrome. So coming to the diagnosis. So this is the ICE-PAC test which improves the ptosis, right? ICE-PAC test improving the ptosis on the site. So these are the differences between hydrophonium test and neostigmine test. Neostigmine you will give 0.5 mg intramuscular. Hydrophonium will give 2 mg intravenous. Okay, it takes about 30 seconds to 5 minutes, and the relieving of the ptosis you will see in case of with the tensilon test, right? This is not, we are not using this test nowadays. Antibody test, myasthenia gravis associated antibodies can be classified into two major groups: transmembrane extracellular autoantibodies, intracellular autoantibodies, right? So these are the antibodies, right? See, acetylcholine receptor antibodies, MuSK antibodies, LRP4 antibodies. We have already discussed. Double seronegative is AChR receptor antibodies and as well as MuSK antibodies negative, right? AChR, acetylcholine receptor antibodies negative as well as MuSK antibodies negative. LRP4, low density lipoprotein antibodies positive, that is double seronegative, right? Agrin antibodies, anti-CoLQ antibodies. See, anti-CoLQ antibodies are post-synaptic. Anti-CoLQ antibodies are post-synaptic, right? Sorry, anti-CoLQ antibodies are synaptic. See, do you understand the first image of this class? Presynaptic, synaptic, post-synaptic. Antibodies to voltage gated calcium channel is presynaptic. Antibodies to CoLQ, collagen Q, CoLQ. Remember, anti-CoLQ antibodies, right? Anti-CoLQ antibodies are synaptic, right? Antibodies to acetylcholine receptor antibodies, antibodies to MuSK antibodies, antibodies to LRP4 antibodies, antibodies to agrin antibodies, other autoantibodies to agrin, autoantibodies to repsin, autoantibodies to DOX7. So these are post-synaptic. So these all may result in myasthenia gravis. And recent NECM journal also, they have found that cortactin, 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 antibodies to cortactin are also in association with myasthenia gravis. So this is the recent thing. So they may be asking in the AIMS examination or any gold standard examinations. Okay, please remember cortactin. Okay, cortactin, 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 antibodies to cortactin are also found in association with myasthenia gravis, right? Okay, antibodies against the alpha subunit of voltage gated potassium channels, right? Anti-titin antibodies, anti-ryanodine receptor antibodies, yes, here. Anti-cortactin antibodies, 20% in double seronegative myasthenia gravis, 5 to 10% of acetylcholine receptor myasthenia gravis, right? It is also associated with 5% of healthy persons and 20% of polymyositis. Please remember, anti-cortactin antibodies, 20% of the double seronegative myasthenia gravis patients, 5 to 10% of acetylcholine receptor myasthenia gravis, 5% of healthy persons, 20% of polymyositis. So this is the RNS, repetitive nerve stimulation. So at a frequency of for undergraduate level, this is not that much important, right? You please remember incremental response and decremental response. Incremental response for Lambert-Eaton syndrome, decremental response for myasthenia gravis. Please remember RNS, incremental response for Lambert-Eaton syndrome, decremental response for myasthenia gravis. This is for not your level actually. So coming to the electrophysiological testing, single fiber electromyography. Single fiber EMG is performed in the weak muscle, most sensitive diagnostic test to confirm a neuromuscular transmission disorder, right? It is the most sensitive. What do you mean by most sensitive? Previous class we have discussed. What do you think if it's most sensitive? What do you mean by sensitivity? I think every one of you are coming to the GoToMeeting app and getting login with your ID and keeping your phone away from you, right? So that's the reason no one is speaking now. What is most sensitivity? What do you mean by sensitivity? What do you mean by specificity? Single fiber EMC when performed in a weak muscle is the most sensitive diagnostic test. Usually extensor, rigidor and commensus muscle is studied first, and if it is normal, then you'll go for facialis, facial muscle, that's frontalis or orbicularis oculi. So generalized myasthenia gravis, 80 to 85% of AChR receptor antibodies, 50% of antibodies here, right? Musk antibodies are seen in about 40 to 50% of AChR receptor antibody negative patients, right? Please remember, Musk antibodies, acetylcholine receptor antibodies negative, about 40 to 50% of the patients. Those patients will see Musk antibodies, right? RNS stimulation, repetitive nerve stimulation, we will see decremental response in case of generalized myasthenia gravis. In case of ocular, that you will see only this is where diagnostic only 50% of the cases, right? Single fiber electromyography, this is positive, this is most sensitive for 99% of generalized myasthenia gravis, also positive in other disorders, and is also positive for sensitive for ocular myasthenia gravis, right? So group of muscles, clinical features affecting this myasthenia gravis: class 1, class 2A, class 3, class 4, right? No need to remember all this stuff. This is quantitative myasthenia gravis score. So now the most common drugs are now the patients we are using rituximab, eculizumab. Also previous in 1930s you used 1930s they are using physostigmine, neostigmine, thymectomy. Patient with thymoma association, there is some association with thymomas, right? These are immunosuppressive therapy like corticosteroids, azathioprine, cyclosporin, cyclophosphamide will be used. What is the side effect of cyclophosphamide? So current approaches to the management of refractory myasthenia gravis. So these are the drugs, right? Rituximab binds to the CD20 molecule and initiates a complement dependent cytolysis or antibody dependent cell mediated cytotoxicity. So we'll discuss in the next class the remaining part. At least please revise the things what we have discussed now. Can anyone revise the things what we have discussed now today's class, please? At least please tell me the key points, right? Key points of today's class. What is myasthenia gravis?
Autoimmune disorder.
Yeah, myasthenia gravis is autoimmune disorder. Very good. Autoimmune disorder
Due to acetylcholine receptor and autoantibodies.
antibodies, right? What are the other antibodies in myasthenia gravis? You can see
Mask.
Titin, LRP4, Musk antibodies,
okay,
rhinodine,
okay. What are the ocular signs in myasthenia gravis?
Cogan's Littwich sign,
Okay, what is Cogan's Littwich sign?
Decreased range of detection.
What? What is ocular QVR? What is ocular QVR? Myopathy affects proximal muscles or distal muscles?
proximal muscle,
Mostly proximal.
Mostly proximal. Very good. Neuropathies.
Distal.
Distal muscles.
Name some distal myopathies. Distal myopathies. Name some distal myopathies. Anyone? What is Miyoshi myopathy? Miyoshi myopathy. Marcus Berry Greg's myopathy. Any spinocerebellar ataxia associated with myasthenia gravis? No, no, no. Do you remember spinocerebellar ataxia's class? Cord, spinal cord. What happens to if lateral spinothalamic tract is affected? What happens if posterior column is affected? Can anyone tell the anatomy of corticospinal tract? Corticospinal tract degradates in which part of the brain stem? What are the signs and symptoms of what are the signs of UMN lesion? What are the signs of LMN lesion? What is the arterial supply to cerebellum? Blood supply to cerebellum? All the things we have discussed from month of February, right? We have discussed cerebral circulation, blood supply to brain stem, midbrain pons medulla, midbrain syndromes we have discussed, Nothnagel, Weber's, Bendix, Claudius syndrome. We discussed spinocerebellar ataxias. We have discussed spinal cord anatomy and lesions of spinal cord. And one of the other faculty discussed seizures as well as headache, right? So now we are discussing neuromuscular junction, myasthenia gravis. We'll discuss the treatment part of myasthenia gravis in the next session, and then we will go for muscular dystrophies and myopathies, right? Don't tell that in final year that neurology was not discussed to our batch, right? Basic anatomy we're discussing in your this year. In next year, definitely you will be discussing all the Parkinsonism, movement disorders, Parkinson's, again stroke. Stroke we have discussed now. Again, stroke will be discussing in your final year also, right? So if you know the anatomy only, then you can understand the other things. Okay. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, sir.